Today's video, we're going to be looking at the IBM Thinkpad 380Z.
We review all technology from games to all PCs, and don't forget the thoughts on ancient electronics. We cover it all.
So this wasn't actually originally my planned video, but I had a couple hiccups with the video or videos I was planning. So this is probably just going to be a little bit of a shorter kind of filler video. I'm probably not going to go too in-depth here. Now, if you were a longtime viewer of this channel, you know I don't have a lot of laptop or portable type machine content. It's not really my thing. I prefer like full desktops, things like that. I'm a tinker. I'm a retro gamer. So for me, usually I'm better off with desktops and towers and things like that, and I'm willing to dedicate the space to it. I'm not saying there isn't a place for laptops. There certainly is, even retro laptops. If you don't have a lot of space or you're not willing to sacrifice any space, but you want a retro game on original hardware from the time, laptop is a great way to do it. It's just not necessarily me, especially being a tinker. There's not much you can really do with a laptop compared to like a desktop. You're extremely lucky if it even has like an expansion slot, like an ISA slot or something. Usually with a laptop, you're usually stuck with whatever video or sound is built in. Now that's not to say you can't expand them some, but nowhere near the level and ease that you can with a desktop. So that's why you don't see a lot of laptop content on this channel. But I still think they're neat. And for the price I picked this thing up at a swap meet, which was just a couple bucks, it was definitely worth picking up for me. And it's a cool little thing to take with me if I want to retro DOS game on the go. So the 380Z we see here, this is basically the top of the line from IBM with their ThinkPad line for the 380 line. So this is the 380Z. Top of the line. I believe this came out in 1998, and for a laptop the specs are really good. There's a Pentium 2 in here, 300 megahertz. So the screen on this guy is also a little bit better. It can do a little bit higher resolutions to the laptops prior to this one in the 380 line. 160 megabytes of EDO RAM this guy can take. I don't have that amount in there right now. I believe I have 96. So it has 32 on the motherboard. I believe, I'm pretty sure, 32 megabytes on the motherboard, and then you can expand it with a 128 megabyte stick. I think I only have a 64 megabyte stick installed. That's what it came with. Unlike a desktops, as I said, I'm not a laptop guy, so I don't have a lot of laptop memory sitting around, and I'm not really willing to spend the money to expand this guy, but you can expand it to 160 megabytes. Two pretty nice speakers for the time in the front here, and this has, I believe it came with Windows 98 built in. Now when I picked this thing up, I'm going to open it up here. So when I picked this thing up, it did not work. I had some errors, and of course that was related to the battery. Once I fixed the battery situation, I'll show you that in a minute, I was able to reinstall Windows 98. Alright, so let's take a quick little tour of this guy here. It is pretty thick, it is pretty beefy, but you got to expect that from a laptop of the time. Actually, for the time, it kind of feels like the beefiness or the largeness actually kind of screams quality as compared to like newer laptops where they're like really thin and they're expensive and quality. It's like thickness in these old laptops, like that's a quality laptop. But anyways, Intel Pentium 2, like I said, this has the Pentium 2 300 megahertz, which is pretty powerful for the time, for 1998 for a laptop. And you could certainly play some DOS and Windows games on this guy. I think what's really holding it back is the sound and the video. Maybe not necessarily the sound. I don't remember the sound in here, but I believe it's a crystal sound chip. That's not bad. But the video is it's not a 3D accelerator. I believe it's just a 2D video chip. I remember not ever hearing of this brand before, but For DOS, it should do the job well enough, but this was really meant more for business. It wasn't really for 3D gaming in Windows, so pretty standard layout for the time. Just got your mouse here. Nice little trackball. I don't really like these things, but you know, the keyboard feels okay. It's a little squishy, but it's all right. But other than that, yeah, it's pretty standard. Pretty much all you need. Like I said, the screen can do a little bit better resolution-wise than the other models in this lineup. And then we got these nice speakers right here. So I'm going to turn it this way. Let's take a look right here what we got. So right here is, I believe, the hard drive. So right now, this is, I haven't upgraded this thing at all. So I believe it's a 6 gigabyte hard drive. When we power it up, we'll take a look. One of those slots that I can't remember, it's a big acronym, PCMCI. I don't know if I got that right, but you can use those cards, and they let you hook up things like different CD drives or floppy drives if you want, or you can use put wireless and network cards in there and things like that. Here we have the power button right here, and then this is your Windows, the volume, and your jacks for headphones, or if you want to add speakers. The thing is, this could be the battery too. I don't remember. I think this is the hard drive. I think you get the battery from it. I think the battery still works for this thing, which is interesting for one this old. I'll try it in a second, but I remember I charged it a little and it seemed to kind of work. But generally, I would just hook this thing up to a power supply. I don't have the original power supply for this, but you can find like universal power supplies and ones that you can adjust the voltage on them, things like that. So right here we have a PS2 port for a mouse, so you can easily connect a mouse. That's very nice. That is your power connector. And then right here we have a USB port. It works just fine with Windows 98 installed, didn't have any problems. Serial port, parallel port, and then a built-in VGA port. If you don't want to use the built-in screen, you can connect this up to a monitor, which is always nice. Now, here on the side, the previous owner, I believe, did a little bit of a modification here. So right here we have, underneath we have a standard 1.44 megabyte floppy drive. And then on top, we have a DVD drive. And as you can see, it doesn't quite fit perfectly. They put a little bit of foam right here for that gap. I believe originally this just came with a CD drive. So the prior owner at some point added this DVD drive that I don't think was meant for this model, but they made it work. And I've tested it and it works just fine. So that's a nice little upgrade there, even though it might not look perfect. Okay, so here is the underside, and you can see this is the 380Z right there. And then right here, this is the battery. So you can, I don't know if you can still get new good batteries for this thing, but that is your battery right there. Now, I don't want to show the information, but it looks like this previously belonged to Bell. I believe that is the phone company, maybe? So this must have been, they used it for service calls or something. I don't know, but it looks like it was owned by Bell, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Memory and the battery is under here, so if you want to upgrade the memory or change out the battery, I'll open that up and I'll take a look. Alright, so if we look right here, I've taken that little lid off here, and here is the memory. Pretty easy to upgrade it if you want. I believe right here is the 32 megabytes of memory built on, and then this came with it, as I said earlier. I think this is a 64 megabyte stick right here, EDO RAM, but you can put in 128, and then I believe 32 plus 128 is 160-ish, give or take. Here is essentially the CMOS battery, and it connects right there. It's a little 3-prong plug, and the original one came out, and there were two little metal panels, and they were kind of lightly soldered onto a battery. It's a standard CMOS lithium battery. I kind of managed to pry off the old dead battery, and I just put a new one on, and I like pressed the pads really tight to it and wrapped it really tightly in electrical tape. I guess that is the lazy kind of poor man's way of doing it, but so far it has held its charge and worked, and when this one dies it will be very easy to replace it. Okay, I'm going to try to power this on without it being connected to the AC. I'm just going to try it with the battery. Now, this did belong to a large company like Bell. The battery might not be as old as we think. It's probably not the original one. They probably kept this thing in service for quite some time and maybe just replaced the battery. I remember my local post office here, when I moved here, maybe about 8 or 9 years ago, so let's say 2013 or 14. I know the computers at the post office were still using Pentium 2s. The postman told me about that, so it wouldn't be out of the question for the company just wanting to keep these working as long as possible, and one of the things they would have done is replace the battery. So I'm going to hit the power, and as you can see, it seems to be powering up just fine. So, although I have nothing on this, there we go. And we got IBM right there. The screen's a little dirty. I did clean it, but there's our memory. Windows. There's our... I don't know how to fix that. It's really small, but then once it loads into Windows, it takes up the whole screen. And it sees the mouse. I installed DOS first, and then I installed Windows 98. Yeah, so there we go. And then you should change your battery or switch power immediately. So it either needs fully charged or it doesn't really hold a charge. But yeah, see, but it did power it up. So I'm going to shut this off, and then we're going to connect it to the AC. Alright, so I'm going to turn off this light here, and right now, like I said, it is powered into like a universal power supply, but I wouldn't mind getting like an original or like an IBM power supply for this thing, because the universal one, it works, but it does tend to get a little bit warm. So let me turn the lights down so we can see things better, and then let's see what's going on here. Alright, so let's just check the specs on this guy. So the hard drive, I do have it partitioned into two parts. The first one is 2 gigabytes, and then the second one is about 6 gigabytes. So I was wrong, it's an 8 gigabyte hard drive, which I believe was the high-end option for this machine at the time. It might be something someone put in a little bit later. I'm not 100% sure, but that is pretty large for a laptop from like 1998, even 1999. That's more than some desktops had, so that's pretty good here. Let's go into the control panel. I just want to look at the display. I have installed the official drivers. They're available online. They're not too hard to find. This was a pretty high-end, popular model, IBM Thinkpad, so you will find the drivers. Okay, so here I am running it at 1024 by 768. That is the max resolution of this display, and as I said, it is higher than the resolution of the displays in the prior laptops in the 380 line. So the video in here is a Neo Magic Media 256 AV. I have never heard of that before. I have no idea if it's just a weird mobile version of some kind of chip from ATI or any of those companies. I have no idea. I do not believe it's 3D. I'm pretty sure it's just a 2D. For our Mac settings, it only goes up to I think 24-bit. So yeah, like this was really more of a business machine. It wasn't meant for gaming, so that's not too surprising. But yeah, Neo Magic Media 256 AV. No idea. If anyone has any opinions on that chip, let us know in the comments. So, alright, so let's go down real quick here and let's take a look at system. I want to see what's under the sound. Then here we got our sound settings. And yeah, it's a Crystal audio system. Okay, so Crystal plug and play. If you can see that there. So that's not too bad. I mean, Crystal was pretty popular. They're not my favorite as far as audio chips go, but I think that should serve us well in DOS. I think they were pretty decent as far as Sound Blaster compatibility goes. So I guess at this point, I have not tried playing any games on this machine. So I guess at this point, I'll just maybe load a DOS game or two, maybe a Windows game, and just see how it runs. Alright, so I've attached a mouse here to make things a little easier. And I'm sorry the viewing angle is kind of off to a side, but it just makes it easy for me to, you know, capture the footage and actually play the game. So we're just going to do a couple things real quick. I've installed Everest here, so I just wanted to take a quick look. So motherboard, CPU, it is a 300 megahertz Pentium 2, memory 95 megabytes. Chipset. Alright, our chipset here, it's the 443BX-ZX, so Northbridge Intel 82443BX/ZX. For display, we got that Neo Magic. It doesn't really give me any information really though on this thing. It just says the name Neo Magic NM2200 Magic Media 256. That's kind of a mouthful. But when we go to GPU, there's nothing displayed, so it just doesn't give me a whole lot of information on it. But, you know, I think it's just like a generic sort of card. Alright, so let's do some quick testing here. Now I can run a Final Reality, but of course it doesn't detect, no direct 3D hardware rendering platforms found. But it will start up. MMX detected, of course, Pentium 2. So, yeah, I mean, it sees some 3D options, but if we go back, it's just direct 3D software. Ugh, stupid internet wizard. Go away. No, go away. Okay. And that's basically, all it gives us. I think it will still let us run the benchmark, though, in software mode, but it's not very useful to us. Yeah, there we go. Oh, the music's going, too, so that's good. Alright, didn't really feel a need to go through that benchmark, since this is not a 3D accelerator chip. Let's start off here with something difficult for it. So let's try Tomb Raider 2. I know this game runs fine on my desktop setup. Let's see what it says for graphics. Just software, 256 color render. We'll keep it at 800 by 600, but remember, we can... this thing is so sensitive. We can turn down the resolution if we wanted to increase performance. Sound card, we have two options here. We have primary sound driver, and then we have this CS4232 blah 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 emulated. So that seems to work. Okay. So that seems to work, so let's give it a try. Go away. Yeah, this mouse is just being way too sensitive. Alright, so here's the Tomb Raider 2 demo. It actually seems to be running okay so far. So at this part, unfortunately, I didn't realize how I had things angled and how this screen was. It's kind of hard. It's very hard to see in parts, like right here in the beginning, the tunnel or whatever, the cave. It's very dark and it's obviously hard to see. So I will cut this part of the video short, but I will just say it played okay. I was actually surprised how well it did. Maybe not too surprised. Obviously the CPU it can handle this game fine. But yeah, it sounded okay. It ran, I don't know, I wouldn't really say it was super playable. Like when when the tiger or lion or whatever it is, I think it's a tiger, comes on here in a minute, it does get a little bit slow. So this isn't the optimal way to play this game, but I think, you know, if you set your standards low, it's manageable. And especially if you turn down things like the resolution, obviously, that will make the game run even smoother. So depending on your tolerance for frame rate and graphical fidelity and things like that, you know, technically the game is manageable, playable on this setup. Now I have run into a bit of a snag with MS-DOS. So as you can see here, the cursor's blinking, but it's frozen. I was trying to install Duke 3D, and I have restarted. This is the second time this has happened to me. And it reads the CD just fine. It reads the files on it. I type in the install command. CD spins up, and then it stops, and it just freezes up here. Now I know the CD at least has been working prior. It installed Windows 98 SE without any problems and various other things. But I don't know. The other thing is, I tried to install Doom here, Ultimate Doom, and it actually installed that just fine. But when I tried to run the game, it locked up again. Now, it might be my sound settings weren't correct. At least that's my assumption with Ultimate Doom. And that locked it up. But so far, 2 DOS games it has given me trouble with. So I'll try another CD game, and then I'll try installing something maybe from floppy disk. Okay, so I'm going to try Doom again, but this time I'm going to run it through Windows. See if that makes a difference. I can hear the sound. It's saying setup has completed successfully. So let's try running WinDoom. Play game. Let's see if it works through Windows, where it didn't through DOS for whatever reason. We won't change anything. Let's just go with new game. And it seems to be running. Geez, let me adjust the Windows size here. I don't know if you can hear that. It doesn't sound great. Of course, part of that is because it's coming out of these little speakers on this non-gaming old laptop, but I mean, it's serviceable. It is far from the best rendition I have heard of the Doom soundtrack. So, where's my, it's not, there we go. I mean, obviously it's playable. So. One zombie? Isn't there at least 2 there? Then if you can hear, there's this annoying sound that comes up sometimes in the background. I don't know. It's probably really hard to hear it on the coming out of these little speakers and then on the camera, but yeah, take my word for it. It's not the best musical rendition for Doom. Alright, let's see if I set it to 640 by 480. That helps fill up the screen at all. No. Yeah, see, so if I set my display settings here on Windows to, like, say 640 by 480, as you can see, it just creates, it's a big black bars around the screen, and I don't think it's going to, I think it's just all going to fit in that little size here. Let's go into advanced screen resolution, 640 by 480, and then we'll run a new game. Yeah, it's just kind of stuck in that resolution. So I don't know if you can actually, if you're running this game through Windows on this, if you can actually get it to full screen. I don't know, like I said, I'm not a laptop guy, so I'm not used to messing around with resolutions in this matter to get things to fill the screen. On a desktop setup, it just generally works. 1280 by 1024. I don't, let's see if it, yeah, I don't, the screen doesn't support it. Or Windows will now resize. This could take a few seconds. Let me see. I just want to see. Yeah, see, yeah, the screen. I mean, you can put it to that resolution, but you're going to have issues like that where you have to kind of scroll. So, you resize your desktop. No. We'll take it to the maximum 1024 by 768. This mouse. There we go. Alright, so despite the little resolution issue, Doom worked fine. It installed just fine off the CD and it ran. So it looks like our issue is a DOS issue for some reason. Certain things aren't working. Let's try Dark Forces. I think its installer like auto detects the sound card and the IRQ and things like that. So let's see if we have any better luck with Dark Forces. Alright, so I have Dark Forces in the drive. It is seeing the files, so let's try running the install. And I hear it spinning up. Yeah, and then it just stops. It spins up, and then it, it stops spinning, and it just locks up the machine here. So, but what's weird is Doom, my burn of Ultimate Doom. I own the actual CD, so I'm not pirating there. But this is my legitimate backups, both of these games. But anyways, that read and installed just fine. But for whatever reason, Duke 3D and now Dark Forces, when I run the install program, it just starts to spin up, then stops and just locks up on me. So weird. Let me try a floppy disk in DOS. Okay, so let's try our old friend Prince of Persia here. I'm loading it up from a floppy. So far, everything seems good. Do I hear the sound? Yeah, that's about as high as we're getting it. Remember, I think you can hook up external speakers to this guy. Again, we do have the issue where it's in like a smaller screen. It looks pretty good, but you do have this black rectangle around it. But the sound's working fine. The Sound Blaster emulation, it is running here. Let me see here. And, yeah, I mean, it looks fine. It seems to respond just fine. The sound is there. It sounds, good enough for what it is. So, yeah, let's try another one real quick. Okay, so let me turn this down. So here we have Iron Man Off-Road. It's another kind of favorite of mine running. The AbLib music sounds just fine. It's in VGA mode. The image looks just fine. It's playing just fine, with the exception of the black square, that it's small. I don't know what you call that. The image is not compressed, but just you get this black bars around the top and bottom. Again, this I installed or running it off a floppy drive. It seems like the DOS games run fine if they're off a floppy drive, but there seems to be an issue with the DVD drive. I don't know why it worked with that initial install of Doom or Ultimate Doom. For that one, I do know. I think for the DOS installation on that, it's just basically the floppies, and they put them on a CD, and then it's like streaming, it's like the floppy install off the CD, and that seemed to work fine. But even then, after I installed Doom, it just locked up on me. So I don't know. Anything from a CD seems to not work here. Ultimate Doom, Duke 3D, Dark Forces. I even tried. I tried Rise of the Triad because it has a couple older like DOS titles on there. That I want to try and install. I think like Duke 2, Duke Nukem 2 is on there. They'd all failed. It locks up when you try to run the install program. So I don't know. My guess is something's going on with the CD or the DVD drive that's in here. It could be the drivers. It's kind of weird. I can't recall having a problem quite like that before, but I'm also unfamiliar with laptops, although it should basically run the same. So I'm not sure what's going on. Alright, so that's our relatively brief look at the IBM Thinkpad 380Z. Let me turn that off so you can get a better look there. Mixed results. I thought this was going to be an absolutely awesome DOS machine for playing DOS games on the go, and it potentially still can be. First, we are constrained by the video and the sound. Although I think with 2D DOS games, that's not too big of a deal. The sound kind of is, but I didn't really get to fully kind of test out that crystal chip in DOS. My guess is it would sound like, okay. It's not great, probably serviceable. But other than that, I would think DOS would run just fine. You're not going to run into any issues with the processor. The only issue you're going to run in with the processor is maybe games running too fast. But it should be pretty good with, like, at least I thought it would be pretty good with late DOS era games, and it might be. I ran into two issues. One that I just think is the machine. Again, I'm not familiar with laptops, so I don't really run into the whole black bars around the screen and resolution issues, because usually I'm playing on a desktop with a desktop monitor, and I don't really run into those issues. I don't know if there's a workaround or a cure or what you have to do to make the games fill up the full screen, except running them in the resolution for this machine 1024 by 768. I'm sure there's might be ways around that. I'm just not used to dealing with that often. It's not a deal breaker. It's not a big deal. You're just getting a smaller screen with some games. Again, don't know if there's necessarily a way around that. I'm not used to laptops and playing with that. I'm probably going to get some kind of comment like, you're an idiot, it's so easy, you just do this and that. Okay. Sorry, this is, again, I just have almost no experience with laptops. The other point is, I don't know what's going on with my DVD drive and installing games from that drive. It spins up and then it stops. Installing and running games in Windows seems to run just fine, no issues, but for whatever reason in DOS, it just will not run any of the install programs. Do not know what's going on there. Maybe it's a driver issue. If any of you have any ideas, let me know and I'll check it out. But other than that, it is a powerful laptop for, 1998-ish. I would really like to get that DVD or CD drive issue figured out. If I do, I think this would make a decent, on-the-go sort of DOS rig. Either way, it is a kind of a cool machine to have up and running. Like I said, I'm not a huge laptop guy, but it is nice to have something like this, for backup or on the DOS gaming, or light Windows gaming, or light Windows non-3D accelerated gaming on the go. If you have any comments, memories on this machine, any idea of things that might solve my issues that we talked about, please put them in the comment section, and thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.